Hey guys, welcome back. Today on the Untidy Artist, I thought it would be fun to show you how I make these beautiful felted hearts with sequins. These are just styrofoam hearts that I felted with wool roving. If sequins aren't your thing, you can leave them plain. And if sequins and sparkles are your thing, you can add gorgeous sequins to make these really pretty Valentine decorations. For some reason, I'm always excited to decorate for Valentine's. Maybe it's because February and the winter is so dreary. And also, I don't feel as stressed out as I do around Christmas, so I find it really fun to decorate for Valentine's Day. So let's grab some supplies and get into it. The first thing you're going to need is obviously a styrofoam heart. I found a pack of 8 of these at Hobby Lobby, and they were actually, I believe, 40 or maybe 50% off. I know they don't carry them online anymore, but if there is a Hobby Lobby in your neck of the woods, you can get them there. Then I've got some wool roving. I get mine from Etsy. I know they do sell it in different craft stores. I'll put some different links of where you can get it online, and I will also put my favorite Etsy seller. She sells the most gorgeous colors of wool roving, and also you can get a variety pack that's pretty inexpensive, that's fun because you get a lot of different colors. Next up, you'll need a felting needle. This is a very sharp needle that has tiny barbs on it that help you shape the wool, and we will be felting the wool directly on our little styrofoam heart. I also have this tool that is probably my best friend when it comes to felting anything. It has 6 individual needles on it. It is very, very sharp, so if you're one of my younger viewers with just a plain felting needle or with a tool like this, you want to be sure that you're being very careful. I also have a piece of styrofoam. I use this to felt on top of. This helps protect my fingers and my workspace below, and it just makes felting a lot easier. Then I've got some sequins. You will find a variety of sequins in different colors and different sizes. I like using the round cup type for this project. It just makes a nicer finish on the top of your felted heart. And I found a couple different types at Hobby Lobby and at Michael's. I really liked these 3 packs that I got from Michael's because it gave me a variety of different sizes. And you can see I've got a small, a medium, and a large sequin here. These all came in the 3 packs that I got from Michael's, and I ended up using a couple different sizes when I was putting the sequins on my felted heart. Then I have some sequin pins, and these do come in a variety of finishes. I've got some Mod Podge that's going to help us attach our sequins to our heart, and I have some small ribbon. I actually have 1/8 inch ribbon and 1/4 inch ribbon, and you can also use grosgrain. There's a bunch of different types of ribbon that you can get just about at any craft store. Then I've got my glue gun set on low. You could also do this part with the Mod Podge. I just found it to be faster. And let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pull apart your wool roving. This is merino wool, and it's very soft. It comes apart very easily. So I put my hand on one side of the wool and then gently tug with the other until I pull off a thin piece. And when you spread it apart, you can kind of see through the wool, and I'm going to crisscross my wool in different ways. So I did it horizontally, then I did it vertically, and then I'm going to place it down on each diagonal and start over again. And I did about 8 layers of the wool. The key is that you want to get the layers thick enough that when you pick it up, you can't see through it anymore. And so I'm just going to keep laying those down in different directions. Then I'm going to grab my heart and I'm going to put it right in the middle of my wool. And you can see that it comes out about a 1/2 inch around the entire heart. We're going to pick that up and I'm going to fold the edges in, just very gently. And then I'm going to flip the heart over and I'm going to place it on my little piece of styrofoam, and we're going to take our felting needle and we are going to just felt around the outer edge of the heart just to kind of tack that in place. And so I'm not really felting it down too much at this point. I just want it to hold where it's at so it doesn't move around. And just continue to do this until you have it pretty secured in place. And remember to be careful, your felting needle is very sharp. And then I'm going to flip my styrofoam heart over and I'm going to secure it on the other side. So I start around the edges to get the shape of the heart. And I just continue going around my heart and trying to evenly use the needle to felt the wool into my styrofoam heart. Remember to be careful. Remember to watch your fingers. I do know that they sell some little finger covers that you can get that help, because stabbing your finger with a felting needle is not fun. I've done it a ton of times, and so please be careful in this part. You want to pay special attention to the top part of the heart, and so I make sure that I felt that down really well with my felting needle, because we want the heart to keep its shape. And once I have it to this point, I'm actually going to grab my tool that has the 6 needles in it. This makes it 6 times faster, and I'm just going to go over each side, felting it a little bit tighter and making sure that I follow the shape of the heart and that I'm evenly felting as I go. When I'm felting my heart, I alternate from side to side, and then I'll spend time going around the outside of the heart to keep that really pretty uniform heart shape. And you'll also want to pay special attention to the top part of your heart. And so it's really important to take your single needle and felt the top part of it as well as around the edges. And once you have it completely felted, you're going to start the process and do the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm just pulling apart my wool roving. I'm crossing it back and forth, creating some layers. Once again, I do about 8 or 9 pieces of the wool, crossing it back and forth. Then I'm going to take my heart, and this time we're actually going to wrap it around the opposite side. I found that by overlapping each side, I only have to do 1 layer on each side, which worked out really nice. And I get a very nice, evenly felted heart. If you do end up with some white spots where your styrofoam is showing through, just grab a little piece of your wool roving, place it over that part, and felt it. And once you hit this point, if you want, you can be finished. These are so darling. I actually like how simple they are, and I think a big bowl of these or to use some as a centerpiece would be absolutely darling for Valentine's Day. My daughter is actually having a Galentine's party with her friends, and I think these would be really cute favors for her to give her friends or to just decorate with. But because I love sparkle and sequins, we're going to move on to the next step. So I'm taking some of my sequins, and these are the 8mm, and then I'm also taking some smaller 5mm sequins, and we'll be using both. And then I grabbed some of my sequin pins. And what I'm going to do is, you can see I've got a pink color and a gold color. I'm going to take my pin, I'm going to place one of the smaller 5mm sequins on the pin, and I'm going to do this so it's curving down. So we want the cup shape to be curving towards the heart, and then I'm going to grab my bigger sequin that's 8mm, and I'm going to put that directly behind it. And you can see that they are both curving down, which is going to give us a really pretty top to our sequin heart. And what I like to do is I like to actually put a whole bunch of these together and just lay them on top of my piece of styrofoam. It just seems to make it easier than stopping in between making each one and gluing it onto your felted heart. So I just assemble all of my sequins ahead of time, and I just lay them on my little piece of styrofoam so they don't move around. And once I have a whole bunch of those done, I'm going to move on to the next step, which is gluing them down to our felted heart. And I might need to go back later and assemble a few more of these, but at least at this point it gives me enough to get started on my heart, and then I can kind of gauge how many more that I'll need. So now I'm going to take my little sequins that are already hooked with the pins, and I'm going to dip the very bottom of it in some Mod Podge. Now, I think the easiest way to do this is I just take a paper cup, I flip it upside down because it does have a little ridge on it which helps hold the glue, and I just put a little bit of glue on top of the cup that stays in place from the ridge on the bottom of the cup, so you want to make sure that your cups have ridges on the bottom of them. And then I grab my sequin and put the very end of the pin in the glue. You don't need a ton of it, just a little bit. And this is just going to help keep our sequin in place so they don't fall off of our felted heart. And then I'm going to start right at the top of my heart, right in the middle. And what we're going to be doing is from this point, we're going to go back and forth adding sequins on our heart. So now I'm going to add one to each side. And then I'm going to go back and forth doing the same thing. So I place one sequin on one side, and then I'm going to place another sequin on the opposite side. This seems to be the easiest way to get the sequins evenly placed on your heart. And once I have the top layer done, so I'm creating what looks like a V, as soon as it starts to curve down a little bit, I'm going to move on to the next layer. And where the glue doesn't set up for a bit, it's nice because you can kind of move the sequin around if you need to get it in the right spot. So this is what I have at this point. You can see I've got my evenly placed sequins. And then I'm going to move on to the next layer. So I grab another sequin, dip it in my glue, and I'm going to put it right below the first sequin that I put in the middle of my heart. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back and forth, adding them one at a time to each side, evenly placing my sequins on my felted heart. And once I have my second row done, you guessed it, I'm going to go on and do my third row, and I'm going to continue doing this until I have my entire heart covered with sequins. Now you could do this on both sides. I like it just on one side because then if I want to just have it look felted, I can do that. And these turn out so pretty. They're so sparkly, and as the light catches them, they're just so beautiful and so perfect for Valentine's Day, especially in the dreary month of February. I decided to take these one step further, so I grabbed some of my 1/8 of an inch ribbon, and I'm going to cut a piece about 5 inches. This was the perfect length for me for how I wanted them to hang on my mantle. If you want yours to hang down a little bit more, obviously cut yours a little bit longer. And then I'm going to dip each end of the ribbon into the glue. This will help it so it doesn't fray. And then I'm going to loop that ribbon up and around. And then I'm going to grab one of my sequin pins, and I'm going to put that through the overlooped part of my ribbon. And this was a little tricky because this ribbon is so thin. So if you have a hard time with this, you might want to use a 1/4 of an inch ribbon instead. And then for this part, I'm actually using my glue gun. So I'm going to put some glue right in the middle of my heart at the top. I like using my glue gun for this part because the glue sets up right away. If you would rather not use a glue gun for this part, you can use your Mod Podge. Just remember that your glue's not going to set up right away, so you'll want to press that down in the middle and let it set for a while before you try and hang your felted hearts. I love that there are 3 different ways you can use these hearts. I'm really excited to do a big glass jar and put just my felted hearts in the glass jar. I love the idea of using the ones that have the sequins on them in the center of my table for Valentine's. I'm excited for my daughter to use them for her Galentine's Day party. And I thought they'd actually be fun favors for her to give her friends. And I also love that by adding a ribbon to the top and creating that little loop, you can hang them from your mantle or anywhere you'd like some little sparkly hearts hanging. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have questions or comments, please post those below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if there are tutorials you'd like to see, please post those below. I appreciate your support so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and we will see you guys next time.